Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. And for free, no cost whatsoever, we're solving all of Detroit's problems. We're hoping Detroit is listening. I've got Sandy Steinman here as a guest. He's a turnaround guy, the Small Business Turnaround Guide author, and you can learn more about him at businessturnaroundguide.com. Sandy, so we were solving all of Detroit's problems. I mean, that is one area. I mean, you gotta be thinking that there's a lot of municipalities. I mentioned a couple that came immediately to mind, but there's more. Probably many major cities in California are entertaining the same thing, that are on the brink of financial ruin themselves. You know, if this happens, it could have an incredible domino effect.
There's actually likely to be a domino effect. Let me tell you what. I'm going to tell you what my real worry is in this. I can see, and I think you will too, I can see the federal government bailing Detroit out.
Yeah.
And
wow.
You know, and to do that, because and the reason they're going to do it is the unions are going to push them like mad. And as you know, I mean, this administration is has a lot of IOUs out there to the union.
Yeah, no question about it.
So here's what happens: they print money to bail them out, just like they did GM. And look how what GM did for Detroit, right? Didn't solve that problem.
No, absolutely not.
So now they print money to bail them out, another failed plan, and it is another nail in the coffin towards, the government saying, uh-oh, now we're in the shape Detroit was in.
Yeah, no question about it. Talking again about the problems facing the Detroit area and what they need to do about it. What do you think? You think there's a possibility that they end up saying no, that the bankruptcy courts say no because of the constitutional problems? Not that the Constitution matters much these days, but
I mean, it just depends what you want it to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You just nailed that one on the head. But what do you think? What are you hearing? I'm hearing a lot of that it may not cut the mustard.
I think I'm hearing that there's a lot of sentiment to not allowing the bankruptcy to go through, but federal law trumps state law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a lot of cases, and particularly in bankruptcy rules.
Although it shouldn't, since the states established the federal government.
Well, I know that
the whole rule's been upside down since the Civil War. But anyway, right. I still have old axes to grind. But anyway,
I'm with you. But anyway, Kevin, I believe that I think they're going to be allowed to file. And you know what? If they're not, I don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
I mean, because the truth is, they just won't pay bills.
Yeah. My producer apparently wants to chime in. I can't control him, so he's going to chime in. No?
I know how that is. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that you guys are really trying to come up with some great answers, but I think the best hope for Detroit at this point, one word: Godzilla.
Hey, that's a good idea, actually. There you go. A little bit of Godzilla to the rescue. Now you can see, Sandy, why we keep Sigmund around. So, yeah.
Brilliant. I got it.
Brilliant. I mean, that's brilliant. I was actually, while he was coming up with Godzilla, I was thinking, maybe a foreign invasion, and they decide to attack Detroit, which is probably now in the top or the bottom 10 cities they'd want to hit, whereas in 1950 was probably the top 4 cities they'd want to hit. But then you'd have justification for Reconstruction, right?
They've got to have insurance.
They do. But I really think, by the way, along the lines of that foreign invasion, I think Detroit is too well armed. So they're probably not going to.
Yeah, in spite of all the gun control laws Detroit has, it probably is too well armed. Yeah, it is quite a tragedy. Again, I said earlier, you got to laugh or you're going to cry. What other cities do you see that are potentially looking at a Detroit type situation?
You know what? I saw an article today, and I can't lay my hands on it, but there were a group of 5 or 6 cities that are considering bankruptcy today, and they're waiting to see what happens with Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question about it. I mentioned Camden, New Jersey, which isn't that huge, but it's big enough. I mentioned East St. Louis, Missouri, which at various times they don't even have health insurance for their law enforcement officers because they're so broke. Which, imagine being a police officer in a city like that. And so there's a lot of cities on the brink. There's probably several in California, probably several in New York State.
Absolutely. Well, just so I just kind of found my notes. We're looking at actually Illinois having some Chicago.
Oh, the whole city, yeah, the whole state probably.
Problems.
Yep.
And so that's an issue, and Illinois really is not in a position to bail them out. Mm-hmm. So they are, that's probably the biggest domino that could fall, depending on what happens here. But the cities that are probably game for this are Cincinnati, Minneapolis, Portland, and Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Wow.
That's according to Moody's.
Wow. Yeah, that's really pretty intimidating, and it's something that people should be aware of. It says here, general purpose local government bankruptcy filings, and it says City of Detroit. It says that City of San Bernardino is on the brink. Town of Mammoth Lakes of California. A lot of these are California. Stockton, Jefferson County, Alabama. I've heard about them having serious problems. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Central Falls, Rhode Island. Anything in Rhode Island, that kind of surprised me. And even Boise County, Idaho. That's pretty impressive in the worst possible way.
But I would, if I were a betting person, I will bet you that the culprit in all of those are unfunded pensions and medical benefits.
Interesting.
Because that's what we're seeing.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, yeah, it's always on the brink, and I was hearing about this teacher in Detroit who retired making somewhere close to $40,000 a year on her retirement. You gotta laugh because that's just ridiculous.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. But you know what? There's a time to pay the piper, and I mean, as a country, we've been living on debt.
Yeah,
and and obviously the states and cities have followed suit, and it can't go on indefinitely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks so much for being with us. And again, I want you to get more information. By the way, the book. How much is the book?
Oh, it's expensive. $15.95.
$15.95. I hope that's $15.95.
$15.95. Absolutely right.
It sounds like a great value. I encourage people to check it out. BusinessTurnaroundGuide.com. BusinessTurnaroundGuide.com. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Take care.
When we come back, more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter. You're listening to The Price of Business.